Hey, what's up, you guys? My name's Tyler Rugge. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload, or at least most of the time that I upload. So for today's video, we are actually introducing a new pet that I got, and I am super excited for today's video because I have had this snake for a while now, and I've just been like so tempted to show you guys him this whole time that I've had him. But I've just been waiting for the right moment because I've been super busy with the holidays and everything. And not only that, but I just wanted to make sure that he was settled in, healthy, quarantined, and all that stuff before I actually showed him to you guys, because I didn't want to be handling him, taking pictures and all that stuff before he was settled in. So what the heck, I'm just gonna get straight into it. This is Soloman, and he is my dwarf reticulated python. Soloman, say hi to the camera. He is the prettiest. That is such a biased thing for me to say. He is the prettiest retic I've ever seen. I love him so much. First, I'm just gonna show you guys him so you can get a feel for what he looks like. I love his contrast, the way he has these white circles around him. He looks like a freaking cruise ship. He is also very iridescent. I'm gonna try to show you guys his scales. It might not pick up super well, but he is a beautiful snake, and he's just trying to say hello to the camera. Wow. So yeah, this is Soloman. Again, he is a dwarf reticulated python. As for morph, I don't remember exactly what morph he was. I think he's a motley tiger. Just gonna throw this out here. I don't know a whole lot about retic morphs. I am just diving into the world of retics now by getting this snake. A lot of you guys know that I have always wanted a reticulated python. Like, they have always been on my list of snakes that I wanted to get. So when I saw him, I just had to get him, and he was not an impulse buy by any means. I definitely don't want anyone to go out and impulse buy a retic because of me. So I'm going to try to educate you guys a little bit about dwarf retics, as much as I can at least, because like I said, I'm not an expert on retics by any means. So basically, there is a difference between regular reticulated pythons, dwarfs, and super dwarfs. And you have to be very careful when you're at expos and you see a retic that's labeled as a dwarf or a super dwarf, because super dwarfs are becoming very trendy in the reptile keeping community, because you get a reticulated python in a little tiny package, which is very desirable because they don't get super big. So a lot of people really want dwarf retics. And the problem with this is people will label their retic as a dwarf or a super dwarf, even if it's not actually a dwarf or super dwarf, just so they can sell it for more money and sell it more easily. Do you guys like my snake crown that I have going on? I know. So like I said, are we gonna go the whole video like this? Stay tuned. Oh, you didn't wrap around my head tight enough, boy. So like I said, dwarfs and super dwarfs are really desirable right now. A lot of people want them. They're high in demand. So a lot of people are trying to pass off normal retics as super dwarfs, which is bad, obviously, because then you're gonna buy a super dwarf and you're gonna get it and it's gonna turn into a full-grown retic. And you have to be very careful, because you don't want that to happen. There is such thing as super dwarf and dwarf retics. They are a thing, but you just need to make sure you're getting them from a reliable breeder, someone that you know you can trust and is actually selling you what you think you're getting. So your regular mainland reticulated python will get to be upwards of 20 feet long, which is a very large snake. Am I right? It's a big snake, a big noodle. I'm 6 feet tall, technically 5'11", but I'm 6 feet tall. So that's, you know, like 4 of me, a long snake. So a dwarf reticulated python will cap off at around 10 to 12 feet, maybe 8 feet, around that range. Just kind of depends if it's a male or a female and how much dwarf is in it. But dwarfs are usually around 10 feet, I would say, if not a little bit smaller or just a little bit bigger. And then there's super dwarfs, which stay exceptionally small. They get maximum around 6 feet long. As you can probably tell just by that statement, a retic that only gets to be around 6 feet long is incredible because they are really, really desirable, not only because they're really, really pretty snakes, but they're also very intelligent snakes. They're very active. They love to explore. And they are just super, super fun snakes to have. And don't get me wrong, I love my ball pythons to death, but they are boring. They sit there, they don't really do a whole lot, but retics are very, very intelligent. They love to explore. As you can see, he's currently exploring my face and my head as we speak. So they are just a different type of snake, and they are, you know, they're amazing in their very own way. So if you're at an expo and there's someone who says they're selling a super dwarf retic, what you want to do is ask them what percentage super dwarf is the retic, because retics aren't just 100% super dwarf unless they don't have a morph. What people do is they breed super dwarf retics with other retics to make morphs that are a certain percentage super dwarf. It gets really confusing. But if you ask your breeder what percentage super dwarf your snake is that you're trying to get, and they can't tell you what percentage, or they act like they don't know, or whatever, then chances are you don't want to buy it from them because they don't know the genetics of their snake and they don't know, you know, where it's coming from. And that is a red flag that maybe you're not actually getting a super dwarf. Now, I got my dwarf from Reach Out Reptiles, and I love Reach Out Reptiles. Shout out to them. I saw them at NARBC Tinley Park. I was at NARBC Tinley Park looking for a reticulated python. I wanted a dwarf because they stay smaller, and not only that, but I haven't really seen dwarves or super dwarfs at my expo. I've seen like 1 or 2 of them, but not from anyone that I would really trust to buy it from. So when I was at Tinley Park, I was on the hunt for a dwarf retic. And I came across a few vendors that were selling them at this expo, but Reach Out Reptiles really stood out to me because not only were their retics beautiful, but they specialized in dwarf and super dwarves. Like, that's pretty much all they sold. When I was inquiring about the dwarf retics, the guy who is in charge of Reach Out Reptiles really knew what he was talking about, and he was just going on and on about all this information about dwarf retics and where they come from, how they come to be, and just all this stuff that I was like, wow, you know so much about this, and I trust you. So I decided to buy it from Reach Out Reptiles. I just really trusted them, and I loved how much information they were giving me. I wasn't even asking that many questions, but they were just telling me so much about dwarfs and what to look for and where they come from and how to know if someone is actually selling a dwarf or isn't, and just how amazing they are. And I love supporting breeders who are really knowledgeable and passionate about their animals, because that's when you know they're in it for a good reason. So that's why I chose to go with Reach Out Reptiles. I'll link their YouTube page down below, by the way, if you guys want to check them out, because they have a lot of really informational, good videos about dwarf and super dwarf retics if you want to look more into them, because he knows a lot more about them than I do. So if you want to learn more about them, click the link down below. You just want to be very careful that you're getting a true dwarf or super dwarf, because you don't want to think that you're getting a small snake and it ends up being 20 feet long. That would suck. And another interesting fact about dwarf and super dwarfs is it actually isn't a genetic mutation of any sort. It's not like a morph. So dwarves and super dwarves aren't a morph, and they're not any sort of mutation or defect in the snake. It actually has to do with the locality. Dwarf and super dwarf retics are different localities of retics. There's mainland retics that get really, really big, like I said, and then super dwarf retics are actually from their own little island, I believe in Indonesia, and then dwarves are from another island. So it's about the locality, and these snakes are taken from the islands and then they are being bred with other retics, and that's why you get a percentage of super dwarf in there that kind of determines how big or small it's going to be. For that reason, you're not going to get a super dwarf retic that's in like a really cool morph that's 100% super dwarf, because super dwarves don't come in different morphs. You might see a morph that is a certain percentage super dwarf. So yeah, that's my rant about retics and dwarves and super dwarves and stuff like that. I just didn't want to make this video introducing him and have a bunch of people get all excited that there's dwarf and super dwarf retics if you haven't heard about them already, and then you go out and see some for sale and end up getting one that isn't actually a dwarf, because that does happen. But yeah, that is Soloman, my dwarf reticulated python. And right now he's just in a temporary enclosure, but I will be getting a custom one made for him because he's still gonna need a pretty decent sized enclosure to be able to explore and stuff. So when I get around to setting up his custom enclosure, I'll definitely do some videos on that. But for now, he's just in a temporary enclosure until I get to doing that, because he is still, you know, he's still pretty small. As much as I'm sure you guys love hearing me talk about how much I love my snake on camera for like 15 minutes, I think I'm going to bring the video to an end here. So if you guys liked it, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I post videos every week. Also, don't forget to check out my social media, my vlog channel. Those will be linked down in the description below. I'll see you guys in my next video, and say goodbye to Soloman. Can you give them a good tongue flick?